Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Marchman Act and trying to do this yourself. Now, we get calls, probably on a weekly basis, who someone says, well, why should I spend money with a lawyer? Why should I hire you? Or why should I hire, anybody for that point? I could just go to the courthouse and I could file this myself. And that's true. In fact, you have a constitutional right to represent yourself. If you, God forbid, got charged with a crime, you have an absolute right to represent yourself. In a criminal case, you can have a jury trial, you can have a bench trial, all of this, okay? Now, do I think that it's a good idea? No, I think it's a terrible idea. Because if, even in a criminal case, right, here are you, representing yourself. Now, I'm going to presume that you have no legal training. Unless you went to law school and passed the bar, then at that point you either are a lawyer or perhaps you were a lawyer. But I'm going to presume that you have very little, if any, legal training. On the other side of the courtroom is somebody who is very skilled, has lots of experience, has done this before. I think that puts you at a significant disadvantage. Well, it's the same with the Marchman Act, right? If you file a Marchman Act, if you can somehow muddle your way through getting the paperwork done and actually get a court order of some kind and or maybe even get a hearing, your loved one most likely, unless they are uber rich, in which case they're going to hire their own lawyer, is going to get appointed a lawyer, a bit like in a criminal case. Instead of the public defender, it's going to be the Office of Regional Civil Conflict Counsel. These are very skilled lawyers. They've handled hundreds of these cases and they're really good. And I think that, frankly, it stacks the deck against you. But let's say that you decide you're going to move forward. If you get to a hearing, first of all, which witnesses are you going to call? Who needs to be called? What evidence needs to be presented? How do you deal with objections? How do you get the assessment in? Do you even need the assessment? Do you need the person who did the assessment to come in and testify? How do you get him to court? If your loved one decides to fight and they decide to testify, how do you cross-examine them? What happens if other witnesses testify on behalf of your loved one? How do you cross-examine them? How do you deal with objections? How do you make sure that evidence that should not be coming in because you're not familiar with the rules of evidence is not admitted? How do you deal with this? If you go to the courthouse and you file your own case, how do you know what to put into the petition? How do you know what to request from the court? Are you familiar with the changes to the Marchman Act that happened in 2024? So there's a lot to consider here, and I want you to be aware of this, okay? Especially if you are like the hundreds of families that call us on an annual basis. I think over the years I've probably spoken to several thousand people at this point who call us because their family is suffering. Their family is being destroyed because they have a loved one who has a long history of substance use and mental illness. And they're just done. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sometimes their loved one won't go to treatment. Sometimes they won't stay in treatment. Sometimes they won't take their medications. Sometimes the medications stop working. Or they get them into treatment and they walk out. Or they don't stay long enough. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why folks call us. And so the question I would ask you is, if you have the resources, why would you do this without hiring a lawyer? Right? Because the goal, at least in our firm, is to do it one time and get it right the first time so that we can get your loved one into treatment and keep them there long enough. Okay? Now, I am telling you, in our office, and we know this from handling hundreds of these cases, it typically takes about 1 year for someone to not only experience recovery, but develop the skill set so they can maintain recovery for the rest of their life. It also takes 1 year for your family to heal. Because if you are like any of the other families that we've spoken to, I know that you have been suffering, that you are traumatized, that you are exhausted. Okay? I want you to take that time for you. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to hire us for a year, but even with the Marchman Act, most of our clients work with us for at least 6 months. If it's a guardianship, it might well be closer to a year. Okay. What does a year program even look like? Well, in our office, the way we tailor things, Marchman Act is typically good for 90 days, up to 90 days, and we will typically have an extension. That gives us 6 months. And after that, your loved one has to work what I call the continuum of care. Some folks refer to as aftercare. Whatever name you put to it, it typically looks like this. They continue receiving outpatient services of some kind. They work 12 steps. They go to meetings. They get a sponsor. They do all of the things they will need to do so they can not only experience recovery, but continue to maintain recovery. And you know, I'm very blessed that I have lots of friends at this point who have been experiencing recovery for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and without fail, all of them work on their recovery every single day, whether it's going to a meeting with their sponsor, meeting with the clinician, whatever it happens to be. They work on their recovery every single day. And that's what it takes. And anybody who tells you that it can be done in 30 days is just, in my experience, not being honest with you. They're bullshitting you. And I think if you know anything about me and my team from watching my videos, you'll know I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to tell you how it is. And if you come to us and you're like, oh, I want to put them in for 30 days, they'll be good. I'm probably going to tell you I don't want you as a client. Not because I don't want to help you, because I know from experience that's a recipe for disaster. It's simply not going to work. It's got to be at least 3 months if this has been going on for years and years and years. 6 months is much better, but 3 months is the absolute minimum. We're looking down the road 1 year from now. 1 year. That's the goal. 1 year for the rest of your life and the rest of their life to experience that miracle of recovery. And I promise you, when you see it, you will believe that it is a miracle, because it is a miracle, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And I want to share that with you, because if you're going to insist on doing this on your own, I think that it's going to be a struggle for you and you're never going to experience that miracle. That's my 2 cents for today. I appreciate you tuning in. I would love a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.